when it comes to transceivers, there seem to be a countless number of different types out there. So the question is, how can you easily pinpoint the right transceiver for your application? If you want to find out, stick around and we'll check it out. Basically, we've got 8 main categories that we can use to very accurately pinpoint a very specific transceiver. And to start off with, we've got the form factor. Now, obviously the form factor is a very visual thing because it actually describes the physical shape of the transceiver. But of course, we're also talking about the electrical interface. Now, as an example, we've got QSFP56DD, or we've got QSFP28, SFP+, or XFP, for example. Now, the form factor will give an indication of the data rate of the transceiver, but the data rate actually is another very important category that we need to have a close look at. Now, it used to be relatively simple because we had the straightforward data rate that was required, and then sometimes it was also possible that this transceiver could also service lower data rates. But nowadays it is becoming slightly more complex because we also have the transceivers that actually combine 2 types of transceiver in one physical form factor. So that's where we then have things like the 2x400 gig transceiver. After we've determined the data rate, we obviously need to talk about the protocol. Now, if we're talking about a straightforward data center, then obviously we're mainly talking about Ethernet. But I mean, it could also be that you need OTU or you need fiber channel. But if we're, for example, talking about an AI data center, we're obviously looking for InfiniBand transceivers. Or if we're maybe connecting outdoor radios for mobile phones, for example, then we're talking about CPRI or eCPRI. Now, once we've got that sorted out, the next thing we need to talk about is the transmission type. And the transmission type is actually a much broader category, but it's nevertheless a very important one. So transmission type includes things like, are we going to multiplex the signal? So do we need CWDM or DWDM? If we're using DWDM, do we want to have fixed lambdas or tunable lambdas or maybe even auto-tunables? Then we've got things like the BiDi transceivers because we only want to use one fiber for the signal. Then we've got a whole bunch of coherent transceivers because we've got a broad data rate or big data rate that we need to transport a relatively long distance. And then, of course, we've got things like PAM4 or single lambda transceivers, you name it. So this transmission type is a very broad one, but it is also a very important one to be able to pinpoint a specific transceiver. Now, after that, of course, we need to talk about the reach. How far do we want to get the signal to go? Are we talking about inside a data center? So maybe a couple of 100 meters will suffice, or maybe up to 1 kilometer. But of course, we can also do inter-data center connections, and then we need beyond 80 kilometers maybe in some cases. After the reach, we're talking about the media type. So in other words, have we got a single mode fiber infrastructure or a multi-mode fiber infrastructure? Or are we maybe even planning on connecting a copper cable to the equipment? Once we've got the media type, we then are now talking about the temperature range. And the temperature range, obviously, in a data center will probably always be commercial temperature range. But if we're talking about outdoor applications, then or uncontrolled environments, then we're talking at least extended, if not maybe even industrial temperature range. And after that, the last category is the type of connector that we want to be using. That used to be easier as well because we simply had the LC duplex and the MPO connector, but nowadays with these dual transceivers in one form factor, we're also talking about dual LC duplex or dual CS duplex or maybe even dual MPO connectors. So if we've really got all these categories sorted out, what we actually want for each individual category, it is really very clear which type of transceiver and which transceiver is required. And that is also a reason why on our product page, on our home page, we've actually set up the filters in these 8 main categories to make it really easy to pinpoint the transceiver in question. And the nice thing is actually that a lot of times you don't really need to filter all of these and select all of these filters. A lot of times it actually even is enough to just select 2 or 3 of these filters, because that will actually already narrow down the results so much that you can easily select the transceiver that you're looking for. So, I hope you learned something today and that you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a comment. And of course, remember to follow our channel so that you get your regular dose of brain snacks. And until next time, bye-bye.